The sky above the colony burned with a violent shade of crimson as warning sirens wailed across the metal towers and glass domes of the frontier settlement on the edge of known space. People dropped their tools and abandoned their market stalls as shadows passed over them like storm clouds moving far too fast to be natural or safe. Children cried and were pulled into shelters while soldiers scrambled toward defensive platforms that had never been tested against a threat of this magnitude. Then it appeared. The alien dragon descended from the upper atmosphere like a living comet, its vast wings tearing through the clouds and scattering lightning with every thunderous beat. Its scales shimmered like molten metal, and its eyes burned with an ancient intelligence that seemed to judge the entire colony as weak and temporary. When it roared, the sound cracked windows and shattered communication arrays, as if the air itself had fractured under the weight of its fury. Defense cannons opened fire streaks of plasma racing upward in bright arcs that splashed harmlessly against the creature's armored hide. The alien dragon did not flinch. Instead, it inhaled deeply, and the air around its jaws warped with gathering energy before a torrent of blue-white flame poured downward and swallowed an entire landing platform in a single sweeping motion. Explosions rippled outward as ships and supply crates ignited into pillars of fire. Panic spread faster than the flames. Men and women who had once boasted about surviving pirate raids and asteroid storms now ran for cover with terror etched across their faces. All except one. At the center of the colony square stood a single human figure wearing worn combat armor scarred from old battles that most of the younger settlers only knew as stories. His name was Elias Ward. He did not run. He did not shout. He simply watched the alien dragon circle overhead as if calculating something that others could not see. A young officer grabbed his arm and begged him to move toward the bunkers, but Elias gently pulled free, his gaze never leaving the creature. "This is not a storm," he said quietly, "and storms can be endured." The alien dragon landed atop the tallest spire, its claws crushing steel like brittle twigs as it surveyed the fleeing masses below. Its voice echoed directly into every mind, a deep, resonant presence that felt older than language. "Leave this world," it commanded, "and I will spare the rest of your species." Most people heard that and felt despair. Elias heard something else. He heard exhaustion. He stepped forward into the open square, raising no weapon and activating no shield while ash drifted around him like black snow. The dragon's massive head lowered until one enormous eye fixed upon the lone human who dared remain visible. "You do not flee," it said inside his mind. Elias shook his head slowly. "This colony is not a nest to abandon," he replied, "and we are not prey." The dragon exhaled a slow wave of heat that pushed against him like the breath of a furnace, yet he remained standing, boots scraping against the cracked stone. "You are fragile," it said, "and your cities crumble like sand." Elias looked back at the burning structures and the wounded being dragged toward safety. "Fragile does not mean helpless," he answered, "and it does not mean we surrender what we build." The dragon's pupils narrowed. It launched itself from the spire and landed directly before him, the impact throwing debris in every direction and knocking Elias to one knee. Still he did not run. "Why do you stand alone?" the dragon demanded. "Because someone must," he replied, rising again even as blood trickled from a cut across his brow. Hidden cameras captured the moment and broadcasted into bunkers where families watched in stunned silence. Elias removed his helmet and let it fall to the ground, revealing tired eyes but unwavering resolve. "If you wanted us extinct, you would have burned the planet from orbit," he said. "Instead, you landed and spoke." The dragon hesitated. "I seek something," it admitted. Elias felt a shift in the creature's presence as rage mixed with something that felt like grief. "Then speak," he said, "and stop burning what you have not yet asked for." The dragon's tail lashed, smashing a transport vehicle into twisted scrap, yet it did not release another torrent of flame. "Long ago your kind stole a relic from my brood. It's a core of living energy taken by explorers who did not understand its purpose." Elias frowned, remembering old expedition logs about an artifact discovered beneath polar ice decades ago. "You think it is here?" he asked. "I know it is here," the dragon answered, "and its absence is killing the last of my offspring." The words hung heavy in the smoky air. Elias felt anger at the destruction, but also the weight of truth in the creature's voice. "If what you say is real, then destroying this colony will not heal your child," he said. "It will only make you the monster our stories already claim you are." The dragon's eyes flared brighter. "You dare judge me. I dare offer another path," Elias replied. He tapped the communicator at his wrist, calling the underground archives and demanding access to restricted records as flames still licked at the skyline. Engineers responded with trembling voices and confirmed an alien energy core had indeed been stored beneath the central research tower. Elias looked back up at the towering beast. "Give me 1 hour," he said, "and if I fail, you may finish what you started." Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant sirens. The dragon studied him as if peering into the depths of his soul, searching for deception. 1 hour, it agreed, "and if you betray me, your species will remember this day as its last." Elias nodded once and turned his back on the dragon, walking toward the damaged research tower while the creature remained coiled in the square like a living volcano. Inside the tower, chaos reigned. Scientists argued and security officers demanded evacuation, but Elias pushed through them with singular focus. "Show me the relic," he ordered. They led him down into reinforced vaults where a glowing sphere pulsed weakly inside a containment field, its light flickering like a dying star. "It does not respond to our instruments," a technician whispered, "and we cannot replicate its energy." Elias stepped closer, feeling warmth radiate through the barrier. "It is not a weapon," he said, "it is a heart." He ordered the containment field lowered despite protests and lifted the sphere carefully into his armored hands. The light brightened at his touch as if sensing intention rather than biology. Above ground, the dragon felt the shift and lifted its head. Elias emerged from the tower carrying the glowing relic while every surviving colonist watched from shelter screens holding their breath. He walked steadily back into the square, stopping a few meters from the dragon's enormous claws. "This belongs to you," he said, "and we were wrong to keep it." The dragon leaned closer, heat shimmering between them. "Many of your kind would hide behind armies," it said, "yet you walk alone." Elias swallowed his fear and held the sphere higher. "Maybe that is why we survive," he answered, "because when we are wrong, someone eventually stands up and says enough." The relic pulsed brighter and rose gently from his hands, drifting toward the dragon's chest where a hollow space between armor plates began to glow in response. With a soft thunderous sound, the sphere fused into the dragon's body, restoring a brilliant radiance that spread along its wings like sunrise. A cry unlike the earlier roar echoed across the colony, not of rage but of relief. Far above the clouds, another smaller shape moved, stirring for the first time in days. "My child lives," a dragon whispered into every mind. Elias felt his legs weaken but remained upright, watching as the fires around the square began to die down from the dragon-controlled exhale of cooling mist. "You could have chosen extinction," it said. "Instead, you chose trust." Elias gave a faint, tired smile. "Trust is a risk," he replied, "but so is fear." The dragon studied the broken buildings and the wounded being treated nearby. "Your world will heal," it declared, "and my brood will remember this act." With a final sweep of its colossal wings, the alien dragon lifted into the sky, no longer a comet of destruction, but a guardian silhouette against the stars. The red glow faded from the clouds, leaving behind smoke and silence, and a colony that still stood because one human did not run. In the days that followed, reconstruction began, and stories spread not of terror but of courage. Children who had once screamed now played at being the lone human who faced a dragon without armor, without cannons, and without surrender. Elias refused statues and speeches, yet he could not escape the quiet gratitude in the eyes of those he passed. He had stood when others fled. He had listened when others would have fired. And in doing so, he proved that humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons or its walls, but the stubborn refusal to abandon hope even when fire fell from the sky. Far beyond the colony, the restored dragon flew beside its awakened offspring, teaching it about the small, fragile beings who had surprised an ancient creature that day. When the alien dragon attacked, one human did not run. And because of that choice, two species would never again meet as enemies, but as wary allies bound by a single hour of courage beneath a burning sky.